It's time for Nerdy for 30 podcast where we talk about nerdy-ish movies for 30-ish minutes. My name is Kevin Bauer, aka the Critics' Choice. With me, as always, week after week, the People's Champ, Tim Cat.
If you feel it, chase it, baby. Let's do it.
If you feel it, chase it. Today we're talking about weapons. Tim, let me know right now. Am I playing offense or defense on this one? I liked this movie, and I get the sense that you didn't.
Wait, you did like this movie?
I did like this movie.
Okay, I did have a theory on this. Because I was not super into this movie. It does a lot of things that I just don't like and doesn't really explain anything in a satisfying way and all that stuff. I do kind of want to get into that, but I was thinking we've had conversations before about how I just like action movies, dumb action movies. And sometimes I'll just put one on and it's starring Gal Gadot or Chris Hemsworth's wife. And they're just gonna, or just some random guy who was in the background of John Wick. And they're just gonna do a thing and they're blowing stuff up. And like, you don't even have to pay attention really. They're just doing fun stuff. And then it's like something happens and you're like, why'd that happen? And it's like, cause it's cool. Cause it's fun. Cause it's a dumb action movie. Mm-hmm. And you've said that horror is kind of that genre for you, where you'll just throw on a horror movie and just enjoy it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just want to see what they're going to do.
Yeah, and to me, I feel like a lot of this is for the vibes, which doesn't resonate with me. It seems like it's a horror movie for the sake of being a horror movie. It's scary. It's like moody. It doesn't explain anything. It doesn't.
Hold on. Are all horror movies not horror movies for the sake of being a horror movie?
No, I think like Jordan Peele makes movies that make you think.
Okay.
Right? This director made Barbarian
now.
And I watched Barbarian and I was like left with like they were provoking certain thoughts and opinions. And I was talking about it afterwards. Mm-hmm. And this movie, the only thing I was talking about was like, why? Who are these? What do they want us to think? Do they have an opinion on anything? Are they talking about anything? They're really not taking a stance on anything. Like this is just kind of like an opinionless movie. It's just kind of throwing a bunch of stuff out there. Like, oh, there's a school, there's a gun. There's no connection between the two. We're abducting children, but whatever. There's like, it's just, there's no like cohesiveness to it. But there are incredible scenes in this that I really do like a lot. So it made me feel like it was that kind of action movie. It's like it feels like a horror movie that just feels like doing some horror things. And I went in expecting Barbarian, and it wasn't Barbarian. It wasn't as good as Barbarian to me, even though there were definitely cool horror moments and cool scenes. And I thought the acting was great.
Yeah. I mean, hey, man, that's kind of the thing. We've talked multiple times on the podcast now about how in France, all they do is serve duck that somehow is prepared to be exactly like a tender filet mignon. Like, it's insane. It's like a duck breast, but you can't tell it's poultry at all. It just straight up, if you just handed it to me, I'd think it was a filet. But at the end of the day, it's not a filet mignon. Yeah, it's somehow, it's red meat poultry, but it's not a filet mignon. And I think that's what we're talking about here with Weapons and Barbarian, where it's like, yeah, it's not going to be one of the best horror movies ever made. Barbarian is that one's going to go down. It's like a modern classic. We have been blessed. This has been a great decade for horror. We've been blessed with 2 or 3 all-time classic horror movies so far. And
in what?
Well, I mean, look, Get Out, no question. Yes. I can see the argument where some people would say, is that more of a thriller than a horror movie? Whatever. I'm going to lump it in for horror. I can expand it to 3. Hereditary, no questions in there.
Hereditary's great. And
I mean, dude, I'm probably underselling it by saying just 3. Barbarian, no question is in there.
I think Us. If Us isn't coming from good. Jordan Peele after Get Out, if another director dropped Us and it wasn't being compared to Get Out at all, I think people would be treating it with way more respect than it gets.
Same with Weapons. I'm right there with you. I think same with Weapons. If this wasn't Zach Cregger's second, then everybody would be looking at it differently. The problem with both of those circumstances is that Jordan Peele and Zach Cregger both dropped really timely social commentary horror movies where they're not making you do as much digging to find out what the movie is about. It's telling you something, and it's something that people are uncomfortable hearing, but that they need to hear. It's speaking to a truth that nobody is talking about in the culture at that moment, or maybe it's just started to come up between like the Me Too movement and, discussions around race around the time that Get Out came out. So both of those things were just these perfectly timed shots across the bow of culture. And I mean, you're not gonna, on top of just being phenomenal movies, like you can have a good movie that isn't as direct social commentary. You can have great social commentary that doesn't necessarily come out as a good movie. When it's both things at once, that's a classic, baby. And so both those are like bona fide classics. Weapons, I think I loved the vibe. This is a vibe heavy movie, but I do want to push back a little bit on the idea that this is like strictly a vibe movie, because I pulled up a list of A24 horror movies, and I gotta say, man, A24 horror movies, I hate them so much. On the list, there are a couple things that squeak through. Obviously, Hereditary, that I just named, is an A24 horror movie.
See,
a couple
Hereditary is one that I also push back on, where I didn't care for Hereditary necessarily. I really think that a horror movie to me depends on, at some point I want them to explain what's going on, and then I want to live in that world for a little bit in the climax, right?
Gotcha.
Jordan Poole does Jordan I just blanked out. Jordan Peele does that incredibly well. In Get Out, we know what everything is, and then there's 30 more minutes of the movie. Right? In Barbarian, we know what the thing is, and then there's 30 more minutes of the movie. In this, we find out what it is, and there's 30 more minutes of the movie. Hereditary, we find out what it is, and then the movie ends.
Yeah.
And to me, I find that unsatisfying. And people are like, the movie's so scary. And I'm like, I just need to know that's the thing that with action, I can just sit back and be entertained. But with horror, I kind of need to know what's going on.
Sure.
And so I can't just sit back and ride it out, which I think Hereditary is. It's a bunch of creepy stuff, but I have no idea what's happening the whole time. I mean,
there's a lot of, like Hereditary, there's a lot of really horrifying, unsettling stuff happening, but I think you touched right there on what makes the A24 stuff so frustrating, is that they do seem to lean so far into this really up their own ass symbolism that they don't bother to give you enough to actually sink your teeth into in the story and care enough. So you're just kind of watching people wander around. I'll fire some shots at our pal Noah, who I think loves this movie. It Comes at Night is one of the worst fucking things I've ever seen. That movie got so much hype. Everybody was pumping up It Comes at Night. That trailer blew me away. And I hated that movie so much. It's even got my boy Joel Edgerton in it. And I can't do it, dude. It was such a weak payoff. It takes place in a world where something traumatic that we never find out about has happened. That's driven people into the woods, and they're afraid of other people now. And they don't know if they can trust these people because they might be infected with something, or they might be carrying something with them. And so,
it's got a 44 audience score on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, that's all you need to know right there, man. That epitomizes A24 horror for me. It's like they're so focused on like, what if we did something like capital I important? It's that thing, that moniker of elevated horror, which basically means like, this is what the fuck. On the Zoom, a bunch of balloons just showed up when I did air quotes.
Kevin's Zoom is always set up to react to him making a hand gesture. Anytime he does a thumbs up, there's thumbs floating around the screen. If I do it, nothing happens. Yeah. But Kevin will wave his hands, and then just balloons just came out of nowhere to highlight his point.
It knows that I need it because I'm so frustrated talking about elevated horror. It's dog shit. It's like,
wait, so you're talking about A24, who releases movies like Men that are like, I
ride for Men.
I thought Men was good.
Yeah.
But I think it is very I did like Men. Maybe I shouldn't be talking shit about it, but A24, it just seems like
about Lamb, dude.
It's Lamb is one where it just seems like it's very blunt.
Yeah.
And unsatisfying.
Yeah, it's blunt, but everybody tries to act like it isn't blunt. Like they're trying to act like they're doing some incredible thing by having symbolism. But in the same time, it's like, I don't know. It's like if the movie was called like meat eaters. And it's like, by the way, this one's about veganism. And it's like, oh yeah, did you see that symbol right there? This guy's last name is Lettuce. Yeah.
You're like, I wasn't scared at all, though.
These people.
And they're like,
it's insane.
Yeah, but the point, that's not the point.
So fucking funny. There's a great thing. There's like a great TikTok you can pull up where a dude just like filmed a tennis ball in his backyard and cut it like an A24 horror trailer. It's perfect. I'll leave you with that. So this is not one of those. This is for sure not one of those. The stuff that we're getting, there's enough, like, this feels almost more, there are moments in this where it felt almost more like a crime thriller because you have these people, or like a detective thriller because you have these people who are each independently trying to investigate what's going on. You care about the people, I think, is another big thing. They did the work to make you care about the people and you feel their frustration. One of the things that I love about Zach Kreger, now that we have 2 data points on him between these 2 movies, is how great he is at making this shit feel really, really grounded. So that by the time you get to the elevated shit, it's horrifying because you, prior to that point, have felt like you're living in a real world. I can see you shaking your head. What are you mulling over?
I mean, you're saying the fact that it gets elevated to like a crazy point, I think doesn't succeed in this movie. I mean, I guess I just didn't really love. I find the ending to this so unsatisfying. I love the actors in this are great. I think the characters are great. I find the ending very unsatisfying. And I saw everyone's commenting like, wow, it's great that these kids are chasing a witch. And I'm like, who is this witch? Where did she come from? Is she really a witch? Does she have other powers? Or is she just some chick who found a stick tree with roses and thorns on it? Like they tell you what the magic is, but she's sick. She's dying. Why is she dying? Why is she sick? What is she sick of? Like, it's all questions. And if we're just going to do all questions and do something fun, I think there's funner things to do than just old woman visits. And, you know, I didn't like her being the villain was unsatisfactory to me, even though the thing she does is really dark and some of the body horror stuff and the self-mutilation with the parents and like the mind control stuff is very interesting. Her as a character didn't resonate with me it just didn't feel sad. It just felt like, who's this woman that I don't know who any of these people are. You know, I don't know who this person is. I don't know what they want. I don't know what their goal is. I don't know why this is. I just have so many questions around it that I can't feel super invested in. And it doesn't feel satisfying necessarily when she's overthrown by all these kids she's brainwashed. I'm like, why is she keeping them in the basement? Why are they here? What is she doing with? Like, I just have so many questions that I can't be satisfied by the ending of this. So that's my pushback is I personally, I just didn't have enough questions. I had too many questions at the end of the movie to like really sink my teeth into it. So that's just my pushback. But I agree. It feels very grounded. And even the bad guy at the end and the conclusion, it's like all very grounded. I understand. They're like, it all makes sense. It feels like it could be happening in the real world to an extent, but I just have so many questions, so many questions I did not have in Barbarian and the kind of questions I had in Hereditary, right? Where I'm just like, what are you talking about? What is this? Why? But I mean, I also feel like I watch action movies where I'm like, okay, so what are we doing here? Why is this happening? Whatever. And I don't care because it's an action movie and it's cool. And I'd rather I just want to watch stuff blow up, you know? So that's how it feels a little bit with this is there's scenes in this that are crazy. The stuff with the parents and she's abusing the parents is wild. And the car scene, I mean, there's so much good in this, but I don't know. The ending's not hitting for me.
I wonder if it's because it's kind of a mix. He's defining things, which is part of what my requirements are. But he's also not defining things, which I think is part of what your requirements are. Where if we never got an answer whatsoever, like if we just never, the A24 version is we literally just never find out what happened to the kids because they decided to make the movie not about the kids, right? That would be really unsatisfying for me.
The A24 movie ends before the kid they find the kids, the movie ends.
Yeah. Yeah. They find the kids in slow motion shots over the end credits. That's it.
Yeah.
And they're recovering them, but we never know who abducted them or why. Because A24 is like, it's not about that. It's about veganism. The movie was called Meat Eaters. His last name was Lettuce.
It's always about veganism.
it has what I always want, which is a monster. Like, we know exactly what is going on. We have our like metaphorical or potentially, we'll get into this later, literal monster in Gladys. I'm not calling, I do also want to talk into, there's a word for it. It's like hagsploitation, where if you look at like horror movie villains and what's portrayed as monsters, usually it tends to either be basically a guy with Marfan syndrome who's extremely tall and gangly, or just an old woman. And that's been a big conversation point for this, which sucks. It sucks when you boil everything down to one of those two things. But
you're saying you're looking for an old woman to do a podcast with?
Yeah, we're gonna take the world by storm. I took that personally.
I'm sorry.
Oh no, I'm joking. But it's one of those things where in this, she may actually be a monster. I'll just get to it right now. Zach Kreger told her that she had a choice. The actor, Amy Madigan, she had a choice as to what her backstory was. And he didn't want to know which one she picked. And she was free to pick whichever backstory she wanted based on the scene. And the backstories are either she is a witch who was at one point a human and has been stealing people's life force to keep herself young and keep herself alive. And what got her into witchcraft is that she had an incurable disease. And so now the only thing that's going to keep her alive is doing these rituals to allow her to steal other people's life forces. That was option A she could choose from. Option B is that she is not human. She is some kind of a supernatural entity that is doing an extremely convincing job of seeming human. He's like, I don't know which one you pick. You can pick whichever one of those you want. Go for it. Don't tell me. Act. So there is a strong argument to be made that only Amy Madigan could tell us as to whether or not Gladys is even human. So that's
she's obviously human because she's chased by a bunch of kids through the neighborhood. So she's not a supernatural demon, right? She doesn't have any other powers. She can't just, if she was a demon, she could just escape. We have no rules about her restrictions on anything. She's dying. She could just leave.
That was the other part I was going to say, is in doing so, they defined that she is, but they didn't define in the movie what she is. So they met my criteria, which is I need to see the thing. I need to know what the thing is that's causing this. But they didn't meet your criteria, which is telling you what the rules around it are. Even in terms of how the witchcraft works, right? They showed us something that would make us kind of think it's hard magic. We see that she needs hair. We see that she needs blood. We see that she needs a bowl of water. That's how the kid's able to replicate it, right? Most of the time, that's about as hard as a lot of fantasy things get in terms of defining magic. But to your point, it's also soft magic, because what's going on with the people? They never recover. Do they recover? Why are all the kids in the basement? They're zombies, except that one time they all turn around to look at the guy. How come the parents can stand up sometimes, not other times? How come they can move around normal sometimes, but then another time she kind of stumbles out like a 5-year-old to the car with scissors? Like, all of that is undefined, which I'm guessing is probably part of what like rubs you the wrong way, because you need the stakes.
Right. The hard magic we've seen is very simple. It's I possess a person and then I give them a target to kill. Mm-hmm. So how did she get that person to go out to the car and get a sample of the hair?
Right.
Like, we have nothing in the movie to explain that, I also heard this point somebody online was saying, like a great way to find out what a horror movie is actually about is just remove the monster. And then the conversations that people are having in this movie are what it's about. Right. And if we're following that thread, I'm not sure what this movie is about. I think we have, Justine or Julia Garner is in this, and the town hates her, and she's got, I guess a complicated past, and she drinks a lot because everybody in the town is blaming her for all their kids disappearing when all the kids are in her class. There's a kid in her class that he's like, I don't know what's going on. They all believe him, but it turns out he's lying, and he's being manipulated into being the bad guy, but he's the bad guy in this. He knows what happened to them. So should we Are they telling us to like not believe children when they tell us they're okay? Are they telling us not to accuse teachers when things go wrong in the classroom? Are they telling us, that cops are bad? Or are they telling us that I guess mostly it doesn't seem very pro cop to me, but I guess I just don't like, what is the movie about? These
I
kids
think if we
disappear
follow
and
the
then
Josh Brolin
back.
path, it's about doing your own research.
Right. Like the police aren't going to do anything. Maybe the whole thing is about how bad cops are and you need to take the law into your own hands. But then
Interesting.
I don't know. This is a child who didn't feel comfortable coming forward to talk to anybody about his abuse and ended up solving it by himself. So, I mean, is that the point of this? Is that children in abusive situations should have to figure it out on their own?
So this is me cheating a little bit, but applying what I know it is about helps me see what it was about, removing the monster. So this was a big conversation Lauren and I were talking about, and then I listened to an interview with Zach Kreger about it. And this movie is about him coping with Trevor Moore's death. So Zach Kreger was a member of the comedy team Whitest Kids You Know. Another one of the members of that comedy team was Trevor Moore. Trevor Moore passed away very suddenly, very unexpectedly from an accident a few years ago. And that's something that all of them have been trying to come to terms with. And it's something that, like, they were especially close. And he has talked about how he wrote this in part as a way to continue processing his feelings about that in a productive way. So he has said that this movie is basically about bad things happening to people out of nowhere. It's about how that tragedy struck out of nowhere. And if you look into the movie about it, it is a lot of people who, removing the monster, had horrible things happen to them with no explanation, very sudden. So, like, if you look at Julia Garner's character, right? She is out of nowhere. She lost her job that she loved. She has an entire town that turned on her for a reason that is completely disconnected from any of her actual flaws as a person. For any of her flaws that she shows, like trying to seduce a guy who's in a relationship. I mean, it seems like she has like a drinking problem based on like what Alden Ehrenreich's character was talking to her about. None of that had anything to do with her performance as a teacher. They even noted that her like inappropriate behavior that got her fired from the previous job is just that she had a relationship with another teacher. Her only oversteps in this actual role were like giving a kid a ride home who didn't have a ride home. And like, I think like hugging a kid who was crying. So like, by all accounts, she was being a human being, just overstepping the boundaries of her professional role. She didn't have any work-related flaws, and yet she lost her job because of something that was frankly completely disconnected from her. Same thing for all the parents in the movie. Same thing for, the victims of Gladys, the couple, Benedict Wong and the other guy. Like, she just kind of showed up in their life. She had no direct relationship to either of them. It's just tragedy that came to their doorstep one day. So
isn't that every movie?
Yes,
isn't that every horror movie?
I mean,
a beast shows up and comes into town and kills some people, and it's like they weren't related to the guy. They just got killed by this. A slasher in the woods. It's like maybe he's killing co-eds that do drugs or whatever. But Halloween, he just walks into couples, an old interracial couple's house and murders them for no reason. He's not related to them. They're just murdering them. Not that that's a great movie, but
I think it's all contextual. Like, if you look at Jaws, right? So like Jaws is about going to a place.
Jaws did just eat a kid randomly.
Yeah, Jaws did just eat a kid randomly, and that happens. A lot of kids. But it's less about the tragedies that are happening to the people, and it's more about the concept of something bad happening in a place that has a reputation for not being bad, and the fact that like Brody thought he was taking an easy gig, and he realized that he still holds responsibility. Like, he went to this place in some ways to escape the degree of responsibility and stress that he had to deal with in New York City. And what did he find? He still has stress and responsibility in that other place. It's like that Adam Sandler SNL sketch with The Vacation, where he's like, if you are sad at home, you will still be sad on vacation.
Yes.
It's just Brody and Jaws.
Sharks just eat people random. I understand that this is a deep attachment to the director or writer, and I just think bad things happen to people randomly it's weak. It's a weak premise for a horror movie.
It doesn't have the depth of Barbarian. I think you're right. It
happens naturally in other things. And also with this witch person, this kid is like related to her. It's like his aunt. So, this thing is happening to him because she is related to him, and his parents invited this person into their home. So other people are suffering the consequences of that, but this kid is directly related to the problem. So, this is just a regular horror movie. I get that I'm sorry. It's never good when somebody dies, but I don't see how that has any relation. I don't see how that has an impact on this movie really at all.
It's the whole thing. This
is everything, right? Every horror movie is something crazy happens. It affects a bunch of people. Nobody knows why. And then eventually we find out why. And it turns out it's because somebody's related to somebody, and this enigma showed up and just decided to do stuff.
I think that's the thing, though, is there's tiers, man. So it's like, you can read deeper meaning into Jaws all over the place, but at the end of the day, it's an incredible classic movie. I think mostly because of the movie itself, not necessarily because of any deeper meaning. There's fucking great scenes. I think maybe that's what holds it as the top of the popcorn movie canon. And I think that's the thing that prevents it, as incredible as Jaws is, and it's one of my favorite movies of all time, from being something that, like, I don't know, like a cinephile would say is as good as The Godfather, is that there aren't necessarily the same level of depth to the text. I think Weapons doesn't have the same depth. I don't think that negates its effectiveness as a movie. And hey, talking about action movies and horror movies, I've seen some dog shit horror movies, dude. I've seen some real trash. And I will tell you right now, this is easily a top 10%er. There's no question this is in the top 10% of horror movies ever made.
This is definitely not the worst horror movie I've ever seen. I think Jaws is a comparison. Jaws is an onion, man. You could pull back layers all day and just get deeper and deeper. It's a metaphor. The shark is a metaphor. It's a symbol of something. It means something. The people making it have intention behind that. There's a book about it where it's all about all of Brody's insecurities and how he needs to come to grips with all this stuff. There's characters that mean things that impact the way this person views the world, and they have to overcome. It's just a great, simple story as old as time. And I think there's one layer to this. I think they wanted to make a spooky movie. I think that's as deep as this goes usually.
Hey, and I still think it's good. We got 10 minutes left on here. What scenes do I think are good?
Yes, because we should talk about some good things. That scene you mentioned with the hair in the car. Ooh. Scary as hell. I am like, holy how is this happening? Why didn't she lock the car doors? But it's so creepy. But you could just straight up lift that, put it on TikTok, and I would be like, whoa, what the heck is this?
Yeah.
You don't need any context. That is a scary scene.
Holy shit. It's dialed in, dude. That's one of the most effective scare scenes I've ever seen in my life. I was so uncomfortable. It was so tense. Every single piece of the way that it's shot is perfectly uncomfortable and unsettling. That was Hitchcock right there. That was amazing.
It's really great. Really great work.
That's an incredible scene. There are moments that feel like very like David Lynchy in this. There's the part when I forget his name, but Josh Brolin's character is having the dream sequence. Archer, weird. Is having the dream sequence. There's a part where he's in the other house that he chased his dream son into. He's going up the stairs of the other house. And that felt like that scene in Mulholland Drive to me, where the guy says that he had a nightmare, that there's like, they go out back behind the diner and there's a evil creature behind the dumpster. And then they go back there and there's a guy behind the dumpster and it scares the guy to death. It's just like, there's something about the tension he was able to craft in that scene that was so effective to me. I was like mortified as he was going up those steps. And then the other part that I kind of want to shout out, I mean, there's a lot of like specific little scenes that I like a lot, but I really want to shout out how well they make the house that Gladys is staying in feel extremely evil. We've had a couple movies in the past couple years that even if they aren't necessarily all-time classic horror movies, have some of the best outright evil vibes I've ever seen. Longlegs is one of the most evil feeling movies I've ever seen. It's amazing.
Yes.
There was an Argentinian movie that came out shortly before that. I think it was Argentinian, called like Where Evil Lurks or When Evil Lurks, that takes place post some kind of demonic apocalypse and like possessions are commonplace. And it just feels so fucking evil the entire time. And anytime you're in that house and weapons, I felt the same vibe. It just sucked to be in there. I just hated being in there every single minute.
I think you're right. I think the vibes in this movie are immaculate, and the house is a nightmare. It's so awful, and the kid playing in this is great, and his reactions through all this are great, and I think the acting in this is top notch. One last huge deterrent for me is this thing where we follow one character and then we rewind, we go back in time to follow another character through the same day. Yeah. That is tedious and not fun. And it kind of established a pattern where by the third one, I was like, okay, so I don't really need to pay attention for 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. And then eventually we'll get some new information. But that was tough. That was tough, especially because it built so much momentum. But then it that's the part that feels unsatisfying, because you build up all this momentum with the hair getting snipped in the car. And now we're following Tim. Now it's Timmy's turn. Now we're following Erica. It's like, okay, well, we build up to this scene. The scene's so cool. They find the kids. Now let's follow the cop around for a little bit or whatever it is. It's just, it's
you know,
edging.
A movie does that really well.
Ways to do that satisfying without resetting to another boring 8 minutes of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, is like you said, like the tension, it's more of a regular tension and release, which removes the surprise aspect of it, which then makes it less tense. I was just thinking one movie that does that really well is Smile 2, which I would also classify as one of the best horror movies I've ever seen. That never lets you off the hook. There are so many gut punches in that movie where you think you're through it because the scary thing has just happened. And then you let your guard down for just enough time for it to slap you in the face. And I mean, holy shit. Watching that movie in theaters was like a roller coaster ride.
It was awesome. It was so fun. This one took a little bit longer in the downtime. I was falling asleep. I went to the bathroom. I took my time. There was no rush back to the theater. Oh, I went to the bathroom during when they cut back to the homeless guy.
What?
Yeah.
You missed the homeless guy shit?
I came back just in time to see him go in the house.
Oh, okay. Well, then
so I didn't miss anything. And I was there. I took my time. I was gone for 6 minutes and I missed nothing. I don't think that's great for a movie.
You took your time in the back. You're looking at the cologne and the little coin dispenser.
You're going, looking at all the options and there's like 5 different things. It's like,
what do you think gas station cologne smells like?
Oh, I know what gas station cologne smells like.
Have you used it?
No, I never have. Gosh, probably like gasoline.
Probably, dude. Yeah, they're probably just packaging the excess gas.
Yeah,
so sponging it up
it's
and
got
ringing
fumes
it out.
on it. It's been in that bathroom for a long. I mean, anything that's been in that bathroom that long, I feel like it's got to be tainted a little bit.
Oh, for sure. They should have to go in there and do basically like cleansing with a match to take care of any off gassing that happened overnight. Every single time they open the bathroom, open up the movie theater,
light a quick match and burn out the gas in there.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Oh man. Any other scenes you liked?
Any other scenes I liked? I mean, I love seeing Benedict Wong and stuff. I thought the scene, I don't know if I actually liked that scene because I didn't really understand the old lady witch, but him and his husband or partner had great chemistry. I love that they made themselves like 8 hot dogs to eat. So funny. And then Wong's like, no, you can't come in. And his partner's like brings this woman in, and them basically murdering his partner was crazy. I mean, that was wild to see. And I think they're great actors. So Benedict Wong, it feels like they're gone and you've seen that they love each other. They've established this chemistry, and now you're watching this person lose their mind and murder this person that they clearly love and care about. And that person doesn't understand what's happening. And in their mind, they're watching their loved one kill them. So that's complicated and messy, and that's fun. I mean, it's good horror, good horror vibes.
Yeah, it's a little hashtag awkward.
Little hashtag awkward. Sorry, man, I wasn't in my right mind. That's why I killed you.
Things got a little wild last night, lol. I really struggled with that scene until I pacified myself by being like, mechanically, I think that scene is in there to show you that it doesn't matter what the person is like. Nobody is immune to this kind of mind control. And this mind control can turn even the most loving, caring person into just a human missile.
It's really like the only explanation we get in this movie.
Man, I really liked, I will say, a lot of people are like, oh, it's just a Shining reference. But when the mom crashes her head through the bathroom door and is screaming straight down to the kid, that is a haunting image. Like, I will say they did a really good job making some really haunting images, because the way that the woman walks out to the car with the scissors is going to stick with me a long time.
Yes.
And the way that all of their eyes are open as wide as humanly possible is so scary.
Yeah. And I mean, if you think about it, this is a kid being chased by their parents. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a lot of loaded stuff in these scenes and these interactions that you feel something when you're watching it. Yeah,
I certainly felt something. Listener, did you feel something? Let us know. Send us an email, nerdy430@gmail.com. We will answer it in a future episode, or maybe a Heaven and Heck. We're doing another Heaven and Heck next week. Please stick around. We love those. We'll hopefully see you there. And until then, stay nerdy, everybody.
Stay nerdy. Bye.